What is going on, y'all? It's your boy 3MG. We are back with another video, and I want to talk about this. Actually, this is a topic that, I really wanted to push forward on my channel. A long time ago, you see me make videos on specific people or specific subjects that deal with like mental illness, because I understand it. I work in this field, and I encounter patients all the time at my job. I'm a mental health associate. And this is something that, I'm used to seeing on a regular basis when I go to work. I can't really go too much in depth about my job, but in terms of just this situation right here, I find this extremely interesting, and I would like to go over this with you guys and talk about this. So there's an article here, and it says schizophrenia patients calmed by video games. Now, I know for a long time, there's always, the government or people or someone tries to pin this connection that every time a school shooting happens or something, terroristic act or a terrorist act or something that's with a kid or involving an adult, and they kill someone and they try to claim, oh, I was playing Call of Duty, because you always get these weird news pieces where someone tries to claim they killed someone or they did something or committed a crime due to a game or something, right? And then all of a sudden the news try to put it out there that video games causing this type of issue or that. That's all bullshit. There's been thousands of studies over the years that there is no connection with video games and the percentage of people who commit their crimes and making that connection. But I found this quite interesting, and I would like to actually read this to you guys. So it says people with schizophrenia can be trained by playing a video game to control the part of the brain linked to verbal hallucinations, researchers say. Now, there's actually a few types of schizophrenias, and I'm gonna read them to you guys. It says paranoid schizophrenia, disorganized schizophrenia, catatonic schizophrenia, childhood schizophrenia, and schizoaffective disorder. Now, specifically, for example, paranoid schizophrenia may be someone who suffers from delusions, hallucinations. They may hear things, think things. Someone might be telling them something. Also, you have in certain cases, whereas they have like this false belief that maybe somebody's after them, like the government or an object. It could be something as far as like their phone. They may feel like there's something on there, or like every time somebody looks at them and they're texting, they may feel like somebody's after them. Like that also causes that mental illness. You also have someone who can be disorganized in that sense of schizophrenia, where their emotions may not be intact. It's very disorganized. That person, they may have like a split, like a type of like their emotions. It may be very inappropriate as well. So there's different forms. In childhood schizophrenia, you might encounter a child. In this case, it's kind of risky, and it's kind of sad too at the same time, because at a very early age, when you start seeing signs of this child, actually having symptoms of schizophrenia, you would have to get them evaluated immediately. But in all sense, schizophrenia is not something to joke about, not something to laugh about either. That's why, like, a lot of people I went to school with, whether I joked or not, I didn't understand all this until I got older, to where I look back and I'm like, damn, there was probably a lot of students that I've known that were very awkward to be around, and they probably suffer from this sort of like illness. If they didn't, forgive me for saying that, but there's a lot of people that now that I read back and I look back, I'm like, damn, I feel bad. Like, I used to be an idiot when I was young, not knowing, this type of information. Now, moving forward, it says here, patients in a small study were able to land a rocket in the game when it was connected to the brain region sensitive to speech and human voices. In time, the patients learned to use the technique in their daily lives to reduce the power of hallucinations. So it says here, but this is a small pilot study and the findings still need to be confirmed. It says this research team from King's College London's Institute of Psychiatry, Psychology and Neuroscience and the University of Roehampton, forgive me if I said that wrong, says the technique could be useful to help schizophrenia patients who do not respond to medication. Now, that's another issue too, is that a lot of patients who suffer from mental illness, they'll often get treated with all these medications that soon maybe they don't get the triggers from it. They don't get the actual help from a lot of these medications. That happens a lot. When you get like surgery or something like that, you feel like the back pain medicine or whatever, it just doesn't work anymore. That often happens to a lot of people. Just sometimes the medication is denied by the body or rejected by the body. And that's also an issue too, because now you're looking for alternatives that may actually affect the person in another area of their body. A lot of shit happens from this. Like, there's a lot that goes into this. Now, it says here, patients with the conditions are known to have more activity auditory cortex, which means they are more sensitive to sounds and voices. Schizophrenia stops me from getting a job, says a specific woman. Scientists find the key of unwanted thoughts. And it says, have you thought wrong impressions about schizophrenia? It says all 12 patients in the study expected nasty and threatening verbal hallucinations every day, a common symptom of schizophrenia. So the people that they got to participate in this actual study were people who suffered like paranoid schizophrenia or disorganized schizophrenia, where they had these weird hallucinations, probably threats, violent threats, homicidal, suicidal type of thoughts or whatever, caused by, you know, schizophrenia. Now it says, to try to control their symptoms, they were asked to play a video game while in an MRI scanner, using their own mental strategies to move a computerized rocket, and in doing so they were able to turn down the volume on external voices they heard as well. So I guess it was either from using the MRI machine, it was something that was plugged into the stem of some part of their brain as they were playing, which control the voices. It seems kind of crazy, which control the voices that in the same area that they would be, you know, hearing these or these symptoms or whatnot, and they were allowed to actually bypass those triggers and actually continue playing the game, land the rocket. So they're trying to say basically, they're in video games, if video games are created a certain way, they can have specific games made for these type of patients that can eliminate or maybe kind of like try to basically like minimize the effect or try to treat or help or calm patients who suffer from schizophrenia. So that's kind of actually, that's actually interesting. And it says here that and in doing so, they were able to turn on the volume of the voices as they heard as well. Dr. Natasha Olive from King's College in London said the patients know when the voices are about to start. They can feel it. So you want them to immediately put this aid into effect to lessen them or stop the voices completely. She said that the patients in the study, who each had 4 turns in the MRI scanner, found that their voices became less external and more internal, making them less stressful. They were also better able to cope with this. So basically they want them to apply the methods that they use and strategies that they use to land this rocket using this voice, using like the internal methods of this game that they had made for this specific study, and try to apply that to their everyday life, whether they're listening to music or just at any moment that they're walking or they're with someone or around in an event or something. If they feel like it's something that's about to be triggered, use whatever method it was for you to actually complete that video game or to land that rocket. Try to apply that to just eliminate the voices you're hearing. And I think that's very interesting, just how crazy it is that people are able to come up with these, you know, methods in the brain, the studies, you know, the cost of how much this costs. Not a lot of people fund this, believe it or not. Like, even though you get all these play, oh, this person funded $1 million, it is not common that people are constantly funding these type of studies. They take years, and sometimes there's a lot of failure that goes on, but also you have a lot of people who try to conduct better ways or better experiments to try to seek, you know, or help others who suffer from these mental illnesses. Now lastly, it says, while this is just data, it was particularly promising that the patients were able to control their brain activity even without the MRI scanning game, suggesting that this may be a strategy that people who have followed the MRI neurofeedback training protocol can benefit at home. So this is pretty, like I said, this is pretty damn cool to see that people, you know, found a way to try to get to the area that triggers these hallucinations or these sort of symptoms or issues for people who suffer from schizophrenia, and basically try to turn that around, create a game that also triggers that area and allows patients to like eliminate the cause of voices heard and try to focus on the main subject at hand. I think that's really damn, I think that's cool. I think that's freaking cool. So I mean, if there was ways to also help out other, you know, mental illnesses, I think this would be a dope concept to like come up with like a game. Like I said, people often try to say, oh, video games cause a lot of harm. Don't get me wrong, there are certain individuals who commit crimes based on their mental state and video games, but that is a very low percentage compared to those who play video games often. This is not a very common thing. There's been many studies made that video games do not cause kids to create crimes or commit crimes or whatever kind of act. It happens here and there, but that is not the main reason that you see all these wild ass kids or adults committing these crimes. But I wanted to share this with you guys. Forgive me if I was pronouncing words wrong, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like I said, if you or anyone out there suffers from any sort of mental illness, understand that you are not alone in this. A lot of us go through our ups and downs, and you know, a lot of people may have different triggers or whatever, but you should always try to find a method to try to calm yourself and maybe try to cope with this situation. I know it's not easy. Trust me, I work with a lot of patients who, you know, and I work around with a lot of patients who I know I can feel their pain. I'm just like, I understand what you're going through. Just try to cope with it. Just try to figure out methods, you know, whether you're seeking therapy, just anything of the sort. If there's a video game that calms you down, listen. I say stick to it. Don't listen to what everybody else says. And, you know, we can all get through this together. But yeah, it's your boy 3MG. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And I'm out of here, man. Peace.
Yeah, I told you, the weather's cold, we're getting older. Things even change when it gets colder. But we'll move on just like I'm all. I know you miss the sun and sky, the sun.